The story of Star-Lord doesn't begin in the stars. It begins on Earth. In the quiet mountains of Colorado, a boy was born to a nurse named Peter Quill. His father was not of this world. From the moment of his birth, Peter Quill carried a destiny written in both human and alien blood. But destiny rarely arrives gently. When Peter was only a child, his life was torn apart. One night, a ship descended from the skies. It wasn't a rescue. It wasn't a miracle. It was an attack. Peter's home was invaded. His mother, Meredith, fought with everything she had. But she was struck down before his eyes. That moment defined him. A child holding a blaster, facing death. And somehow, he survived. But his story didn't end there. Because that very night, another ship appeared. Not of Earth. Not of peace. The Ravagers, a band of interstellar thieves led by the infamous Yondu Udonta, took the boy from his broken home and into the void of space. Imagine it. A child ripped from Earth, staring through the cold glass of a starship window, watching his world disappear behind him forever. He had no family, no friends, no place to belong. But what the universe took from him, it was about to replace with something far more dangerous. The Ravagers didn't raise Peter with love. They raised him with rules, with crime, with survival. Yet even among thieves, Peter's spirit burned differently. He was reckless, yes, but also clever. He learned to shoot before he could drive. He learned to steal before he could trust. And through it all, he carried one last piece of his mother, the mixtape of Earth songs that became his lifeline. Peter Quill, the boy who lost everything, was slowly becoming something else. Something the galaxy had never seen before. And that was only the beginning. Because the boy who was stolen from Earth was destined to become Star-Lord. But before he could claim that name, before he could stand among heroes, Peter would have to embrace the chaos of the galaxy. And decide who he truly was. Would he be a thief? A leader? A legend? Or something far darker? Peter Quill wasn't born Star-Lord. He had to fight, steal, and stumble his way into that name. Life among the Ravagers hardened him, but it also gave him the skills to survive anywhere. Yondu, the man who took him, was no father. But strangely, he became something close. Not love. Not warmth. But a brutal form of mentorship. You learn quick or you die, Yondu would say. And Peter did learn. He learned how to pilot starships through asteroid fields. How to talk his way out of alien prisons. How to fight with a blaster in each hand, never missing a shot. But even then, there was something Yondu couldn't teach him. Because inside Peter burned two things the Ravagers couldn't steal. His humor and his heart. He never truly belonged with them. He never fully sank into the life of a criminal. And deep down, Yondu knew it. Years later, Peter would go rogue. He stole something powerful, something that would change the galaxy forever, the orb later revealed as one of the Infinity Stones. But stealing it didn't make him rich. It made him hunted. By bounty hunters. By the Ravagers themselves. And worst of all, by a woman trained by Thanos himself, Gamora. Peter wasn't a hero. Not yet. He was just a thief running for his life. But fate is strange. Because in trying to survive, Peter collided with others who would change him forever. Rocket and Groot. A bounty hunter raccoon and his tree-like partner. Dangerous. Unpredictable. And somehow loyal. And then, Drax the Destroyer. A warrior fueled by grief and rage. Together, they didn't look like a team. They didn't act like one either. But against impossible odds, they fought side by side. Not for wealth. Not for glory. But for survival. And slowly, for each other. It was in that chaos, in that fire, that Peter Quill finally found something he never had. Family. Not one of blood, but of choice. And when the galaxy stood on the edge of destruction, when the Power Stone threatened to burn entire worlds to ash, it wasn't a god or a king who stood against it. It was Peter Quill, the boy who lost his mother, the thief who never fit in, the man who dared to grab a weapon no mortal should ever touch. With the strength of his new family, Peter held the stone. And in that moment, Star-Lord was born. Not just a name, not just a mask, but a legend. Yet legends aren't the end of the story. Because what Peter didn't know was that his father, the alien who abandoned him, was still out there. And the truth about his bloodline would not only test his heart, it would test his very soul. For years, Peter Quill believed his father was nothing. A stranger. A name never spoken by his mother. All he had were questions that haunted him, whispers of a greater destiny he never asked for. Then he met him. Ego. A being of unimaginable power. A celestial. At first it felt like a miracle. Here was the father Peter had dreamed of, grand, wise, and powerful. Ego spoke of family, of legacy, of building something eternal. For a boy who grew up without belonging, it was everything Peter thought he wanted. But the truth was darker than any dream. Ego wasn't a father. He was a conqueror. A living planet who spread his seed across the stars, creating children in hopes one would inherit his power. Thousands of children, all buried when they failed him. Peter wasn't special because of love. He was special because his blood carried celestial energy. And Ego wanted to use him. The revelation shattered Peter. His entire life, the pain, the loss, the endless search for meaning, was reduced to a pawn in someone else's plan. But it was more than that, because the darkest truth was yet to come. Ego had loved Meredith Quill for a time. But when love threatened his mission, when attachment made him weak, Ego did the unthinkable. He placed the tumor in her head. He killed her. That was the spark. That was the moment. All the jokes, all the bravado, all the charm gone. What remained was raw fury. Peter turned on his father. Not as a thief. Not as a ravager, but as a son avenging his mother. The battle was beyond anything he had ever faced. Ego was a god, a world, a force of nature, and yet Peter refused to break. Because this time he wasn't alone. Gamora, Rocket, Drax, Groot, Mantis, and Yondu, the man who raised him not out of love, but out of a strange, flawed loyalty. Together they brought Ego down. But victory came with sacrifice. Yondu gave his life to save Peter. In his final moments he revealed the truth. I may not have been your father, but I was your daddy. It was the final piece Peter needed. The boy who never belonged finally understood. Family isn't blood. It isn't destiny. It's the people who fight for you, who stay when all others leave. That is the true beginning of Star-Lord. Not the blasters. Not the mask. Not even the legends. But the heart of a boy who became a man. Not because of the father who abandoned him, but because of the family he found along the way. And yet, the story doesn't end here. Because Peter's path is far from finished. The galaxy still turns. Threats still rise. And deep down, one truth remains. Star-Lord was never meant to be ordinary, and his true destiny may still lie among the stars.